are driven by fossil fuel operated vehicles such as tractor, diesel engines, etc. And this has resulted in a shift from the traditional agriculture process to more mechanized process. So farm mechanization has been known to provide a number of economic and social benefits to farmers. Primarily among the economic benefits is the improved yield that comes as a result of greater level of mechanization. Looming water scarcity crisis, along with the need to ensure food security in the country, the benefits of farm mechanization makes it crucial component of shaping the future of Indian agriculture. So keeping this in view, this informative webinar will highlight the of government for the growth of farm mechanization in India. So before we get started, I would like to make a little announcement. So if you have any questions during the sessions, please type them in the question box in your WebEx control panel. We will be answering your questions at the end of the session. And if you don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. So now I would like to start welcoming our AgroVision team. So from AgroVision Foundation, we have Mr. Ravi Boratkar. He is the President, AgroVision Foundation and publisher of AgroSpectrum and New Food Spectrum. Dr. C.D. Mai, he is the Chairman, AgroVision Advisory Committee. And we have a distinguished panel with us today. In fundamental sense, they need no introduction. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome our distinguished panelists. We have today with us Dr. V.N. Kale. He is the Additional Commissioner, Machinery, Mechanization and Technology Division, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmer Welfare, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. Mr. R. Gadpati, he is the AG, Assistant General Manager, National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development. Dr. U.R. Badegaonkar, he is a Principal Scientist at Central Institute of Agricultural Engineering. Dr. Indramani Mishra, he is the President of Indian Society of Agriculture Engineers. And Mr. S.V. Raju is the Chairman of Agriculture Machinery Manufacturers Association of India. And Mr. Jay Singh is the Managing Director of Class India Private Limited. So now I would like to request Dr. C.D. Mai for his opening remarks. Dr. Mai? You need to put your...
Yeah, are you able to hear now?
Yes, yes, very much. Please go ahead.
So on behalf of AgroVision Foundation, I would like to welcome the panelists, which is a very competent panel today that we have. Dr. Kale, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Badegaonkar, Dr. Gadpati, Mr. Jai Singh and S.V. Raju. I think it's a very, very competent panel that we have selected. And the issues which are emerging out of this are certainly very we will be forwarding this to as the policy people so that there will be a new change. Friends, you all know mechanization has been identified as one of the tools to increase the agriculture production. Well known. And in India, agriculture sector has been totally dependent on the cheap and surplus labor for a very long time. But now those days have all gone. Now we are actually situation has changed, and because there are wide opportunities which has occurred in factories and services, and also now government employment scheme and all of those. So naturally, labor issue has become a very critical issue for agriculture. Probably you all know now a lot of reverse migration very recently. And we thought that probably the reverse migration they will get absorbed in what is called an agriculture there, either in UP or in Chhattisgarh. But I find that there are now reports that they are all coming back to Bombay again. They are coming back to Pune, and all these industrial areas they are again coming back. That means probably again we are all facing the same old problem of labor in agriculture. Even I was surprised in dryland agriculture, even for picking of cotton, we are now facing serious problem because minimum we are to paying between 10 to 12 rupees for 1 kg of cotton. So you can imagine now that we are looking in cotton itself that what kind of mechanization can we have, some kind of a picker to be deployed, can we have some kind of new technologies where we can have short duration hybrids or varieties which can have only 2 picks up. So likewise now we are all seriously thinking. And you will find that I just was surprised that the ratio of agriculture to total labor has really gone down. Earlier it used to be something like 60%, but now it has come down to almost 40%. And it is expected that it will go down further. So same thing is happening. The increasing tractor, increasing power tiller, and all this indicates that mechanization is coming. But there are problems of mechanization, particularly in dry have only about 1 hectare, 1.5 hectares, or 2 hectares. I think what we need is some kind of different kind of approach, like something like higher processing of higher material like tractors and all that. So can we develop some technologies, or now the good farming has come? Can we now empower them with farm? So all those issues will now come up. But I am happy that we have from Ministry, Dr. Kale is there with us as an additional commissioner. He'll certainly talk about it. And then there are people from, I know from my fraternity, from ICR institution, IRI, Dr. Mishra is there, Badegaonkar has come from Bhopal, and they will certainly throw light what are the new areas which we are really working. And I'm sure that this particular seminar on mechanization webinar is going to be very, very, very challenging and very interesting. So, Vibha, I think I will not take much time, but again, once again, welcome on behalf of AgroVision Foundation, and I will ask you to please continue. Thank you very much. आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा, आवाज नहीं आ रहा है। विभा, म्यूट क्या होगा आपने?
Okay, Dr. Mai, for the wonderful opening remarks for the session. I'll open the panel discussion with Dr. Badegaonkar. So, Dr. Badegaonkar, as you know, the topic of today's session is scope of farm mechanization in India. So, would you like to express your opinion about development of farm mechanization in India? Dr. Badegaonkar?
It is now, it is. Why not? Yeah. Now it's okay? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So today's topic is the scope of mechanization as far as is concerned. I mean, initially few points I would like to put forth, and that will of course will be in accordance with what Dr. Mai has just now pointed out also, that as far as mechanization or scope of mechanization in our country is concerned, I think we need to look into this aspect in totality. And what do I mean by totality as such, that I will be explaining further. But let me first of all tell you that until now, not until now, but of course a few decades back, mechanization for us was tractorization. I mean, what we used to understand is was that tractorization means mechanization. But nowadays the scenario has changed, and we have very well understood that tractorization doesn't mean the mechanization. Mechanization is as such something else. Of course, I'm not ruling out, or I am not undermining the importance of tractor here. But over the years, over the past few years, we have very well understood that apart from tractor-driven machinery, we need machinery in other fields too, like agro processing and value addition mechanization is there, or animal drawn equipments are there, or even manual drawn equipment or equipment are also there, where we need good machines using the human power, animal power, and the electric power. So as such, tractorization itself is not that much important. So we should look into the scope of tractorization in a wider perspective, in a different context. And here, one more thing I would like to point out, that nowadays most of you might be knowing that two words are catching up, two words are very highly coming up. One is conservation agriculture, and another is precision agriculture. The conservation agriculture as such, I am myself working in the area of conservation agriculture, and as far as conservation agriculture mechanization is concerned, we are still lacking in this. Conservation agriculture mechanization, especially not only in India but even world over also, I have reviewed different literature, and I have come across that a general conclusion about conservation agriculture is no tillage. I mean, no tillage is something which has become synonymous with the conservation agriculture. But when we go into, or when we look into the wider perspective of conservation agriculture is not just precision, not just no tillage. Conservation agriculture as such, if we go into details, it contains the four basic principles. Besides no tillage, there is maintenance of crop residue or surface cover of straw. That is very important. That is being neglected. Of course, in some state that is being addressed, but it is from the point of view of preventing the burning of straw only. Another important aspect in conservation agriculture is crop rotation. that we are not at all addressing to. And recently, the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, has introduced another new element in conservation agriculture, and that is controlled traffic farming. Because as far as the soil degradation is concerned, it is because of heavy use of heavy machinery and heavy tractors, the soil at various places is getting compacted, and compaction is another problem which is coming up as harmful to production and productivity. So in all, four components are there, that is the besides no tillage, crop rotation, residue cover, and controlled traffic farming or compaction management. So these four elements are there as far as conservation agriculture is there. But in India, we have been talking about conservation agriculture in terms of no tillage only. And our emphasis until now has been on the development of no tillage machinery, or if at all it is there, especially because of the problem of straw burning in Punjab and Haryana is concerned, it is to deal with the straw only. Still, we are not going for developing the machines which can deal with all the four aspects of conservation agriculture. Like as far as crop rotation is concerned, then we have of course machines which can be used in conservation agriculture too. But for as far as our solution to conservation agriculture mechanization is concerned, we need to come out with a single window or single winged window type of system, or one planter or one seed drill, which would be capable of taking care of all the the majority of crops. Right now, what we have is a zero seed drill or happy seeder that is capable of sowing only. We do not have a planter which can carry out planting. Sowing and planting, I know you all very well understand that what is the difference. We do not have a common machine which can carry out sowing and planting both in straw conditions. So this is what is the scenario. This is what is the situation that we cannot compel the farmer to go for many machines. We need to come out with a machine which will be multifunction, which will be combo type of machine which can serve the many purposes at the level of farmer. So that is what is required. And another term which is very much picking up nowadays is precision agriculture. Precision agriculture also type of myth, I would say, or I should say the misconception is there. Precision agriculture also we are treating in altogether different way. I mean, precision agriculture for us is something like automation or unmanned machine or robotics only. And these are the very hi-fi things. Of course, they are also very much needed as far as showing our power at the global level or showing the level of our technology at the global level is concerned. We need to work in that area too. But as far as practical application or feasibility at the level of farmer is concerned, precision agriculture also as such we need to define. It's not just unmanned machine or robotics or automation, but precision agriculture as such is basically aiming at increasing the input use efficiency. And that input use efficiency, I mean the precision agriculture, if simply defined, is it is the right quantity in right time at the right place. This is what is the input use efficiency enhancement which is required or which is being aimed at in precision agriculture. But the same we have to aim at in our technologies which have already been developed, or the technologies which the farmers have been using. Because then only the cost of production can be reduced, and similarly the doubling the income of the farmer as far as we are that is also a word which is realized at various platforms, and of course we have been aiming it to, and that can be achieved only when cost of production is reduced through input use efficiency enhancement, and then thereby doubling the income of the farmer. So this is as such the scenario which we need to look into with this perspective as far as scope of mechanization is concerned. And again, coming to addressed by Dr. Mai, various things he pointed out, and in that direction only I would say that when initially I talked about the totality of mechanization, then as far as totality of mechanization is concerned, it's not just availability of the machines. It's not just the development of the machine, but it is also the appropriateness of the machine. That is something we should aim at. So appropriateness of the machine, availability of the machine, and in achieving this appropriateness and availability of the machine, not only the research and development or development of new technologies, but at the same time, the manufacturing also we need to look into. Manufacturing also is something, quality of agricultural implement is also something which we need to improve a lot. Then testing and standardization, that is also there. And above all, it will be skill development in the area of farm mechanization. So this is in all, in totality, the mechanization, the scope of mechanization. This is what I look at, which we should address to. And that's all I wanted to initially present.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for touching upon all the major points of the scope of farm mechanization in India. I would now like to request Dr. Kale. So, Dr. Kale, I was having a discussion with our team, and we got to know that government is promoting farm mechanization. Especially your department has integrated the components of agriculture mechanization under various schemes and programs aiming at catalyzing an accelerated but inclusive growth of agriculture mechanization in India. So I believe there is a presentation that we have from you which talks about the initiatives and schemes to promote farm mechanization in India. So Vivek, if you could just upload that presentation and Dr. Kale. Dr. Kale,
Can you upload my
yeah, Vivek?
presentation, please? Good morning to everybody. Dr. C.D. Mai, Dr. C. Ravi Bhotkar, Dr. Badegaonkar, Dr. Jai Singh, Dr. C. Ganpati, Dr. Vibha, and Dr. Indramani, all my panelists. Let me first of all congratulate to and compliment to AgroVision for conducting such a webinar on different subjects. And also I thanks for giving me opportunity to specifically put forward my views and Government of India's what the initiative has been taken up in the field of farm mechanization. So I do not to elaborate upon this, what is the benefits of farm mechanization. All of you are aware that actually everybody has now realized that the importance of farm mechanization. Without the farm mechanization being considered as one of the major input for agriculture production and productivity, and it has been realized by everybody that without farm mechanization, we can't expect any more growth in the agriculture. That already been realized, and particularly in this COVID period, this lockdown period, it has been more realized. Actually, you know that mechanization played a very important role during this lockdown period. You know that Punjab and Haryana was severely facing this labors on the farm, actually shortage of farm. But basically, these farmers have been come up with a very innovative ideas, or scientists have come up with a very innovative ideas, and they have sorted out the problem of this transplanting. So now they have come up with a DSR system, and more than 25% area has been, that means we can cover this paddy through DSR system. And this is a really been, we can hats off to all our scientists and our farmers, because that's why we are calling it as a, it has always been a, is the, of this, necessity has always been a mother of all inventions. That is what we are calling as it. And that's why, as Dr. Badegaonkar has been rightly said, that we need the technologies which has been required at the local level as per modification. So I will just go on through what is the initiatives of the Government of India has been taken up so far. Taking into realization of this farm mechanization, so Government of India has already been introduced submission on agriculture mechanization in the country. And that we have been taken care, entire aspects of agriculture mechanization cover many of these aspects by different components. So we'll go one by one. Just can you just next slide, please? So as Dr. Mai has already been rightly pointed out, that there's a drastic reduction in the farm power, this labor availability on the farm, and this is going to be further reduced. And so we have to be very much prepared for ourselves for this one. And here the farm mechanization has to play a very important role, this one. So next. So all already been aware that farm mechanization's role actually. So you know that we have been now presently in 2016-17, we have been stand about 2.02 kilowatt per hectare, and so we have been made a target of more than 2.5 kilowatt by 2030. So that is what we have been already planned, and we have been having the macro planning on this one, how to improve our farm productivity on our farm. So next slide. So actually, if you compare about, we have been comparing to our nearby neighbors only, particularly in the southern area. Here we can see that many of the advanced countries, our farm profitability has been much more higher. And for that, we have to do very rigorous in this field of farm mechanization. And government of India is striving their hard to that means have a big investment in this farm mechanization, because without investment we can't expect any farm mechanization. Next. So here also there are some of the areas where we have to look after. Basically, this paddy area where still been is manually transplanted, and that is has to be looked after. So red zone which I have been shown, Dr. Mai also again put it that so harvesting etc. of cotton is a very cumbersome job, and still we don't have the mechanization in this area. So these are some of the different field crop and different mechanization activities which we have to take care so that we can improve our farm mechanization in these areas. Next. Next slide, please. So here the sale of a tractor, and we have been crossed more than 8 lakh tractors per annum. And this has really been our tractor industry, we can say that when they have been doing very hard work, particularly for this bringing this tractor technology in our country. And we have been also exporting about 10% of tractors to the different countries, even USA as well as to the other southern America and different parts of the country, and even Europe also we have been covering by export our tractors. So that's really been we can say that the tractor industry is coming forward, and it's proud that actually one of our Mahindra and Mahindra is one of the leading company in the world. We have been producing a largest tractor we can buy volume wise, we can say that in the world. Next. So that's why I told you that the Government of India has launched this submission on agricultural mechanization, and these are the objectives. Basically, we have been focusing on the small and marginal farmers, because there have been more than 84% of our farmers are small and marginal farmers. That's why our policy is mostly driven to this sector only, to cover this particularly target group of small and marginal farmers. Here we have been more focusing on the custom hiring center, because our small and marginal farmers are not been afforded this bigger or higher horsepower range tractors or higher which have been very costly equipments cannot be afforded by this small and marginal farmer. So that's why this custom hiring establishment of custom hiring center is going to be a key role in the near future of agricultural mechanization. Next. So this is the specifically, I will just in glimpses, I will just show you what are the different components. Basically, we are giving the financial assistance for the procurement of various agricultural equipments, and the subsidies ranges from 40 to 50% of the total cost of the equipments. Then establishment of farm custom hiring centers. So here we are also giving 40% limited to 60 lakh rupees. And another is, if suppose it is a high tech and high value custom hiring center, then it will be ranges up to a project cost of 250 lakh rupees. So, and then particularly for promotion in the village level, selected village where the farm mechanization has been launched, which there we are giving 80% of the custom subsidy, but limited to 10 lakh rupees for the group of farmers. And we have been specifically focused on this northeastern region, where we can say that it is at infant stage, particularly northeastern region of our farm mechanization, where we are giving 100% subsidy limited to 1.25 lakh rupees, as well as 95% subsidy for the group of farmers for establishment of custom hiring centers. Next, please. So, and then one of the aspect specific actually to take down all this technology which has been developed by our ICR scientists to the field level. So that's why we are having even by our private manufacturers. So that unless and until this technology reaches to the farm field, then otherwise there is no value of that one. So that's why this is a specific component for demonstration of this one. Here we are giving a 100% grant for procurement of machinery. The state government can procure the machinery and they can demonstrate this technology to the field directly to the farmers. Then we are also having one of the component for testing, that is, that we are having, I will explain you that one in the next slides. But before that, actually, we are having 4 farm machinery. You can use the next slide, please. We are having 4 farm machineries actually in the countries, and these 4 farm machineries are not in a position to cope up the entire need of the country. That's why we also designated more than 33 the SAUs and other state governments to test this equipments for the quality improvements. And here we are giving assistance about 1.5 crore rupees for each center as a grant in aid. Here you can see that the government of India has invested particularly for farm mechanization, because without investment you can't see any farm mechanization in the country. So that's why we can see that in the last 6-7 years we have more than 4,500 crore rupees we have invested in and still we have been doing much more. Other schemes also, like RQS scheme is also there. Then NFSM scheme is there, and other NMOP scheme is there of Government of India. So here also the farm mechanization component is there, and there also the investment of Government of India is there. So next, please. So these are the farm machineries for FMT types which have been located at different corners of the country. For the central region, our farm machinery training and testing Budni is available. Then for northern region at Hisar. Then for Assam, we are having one northeastern region, specifically in Bishwanath Charali, and then southern part to take care of cater the entire need of southern is in Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh. So these are not covering their training aspect, but as well as for the testing of this one. So here I would like to convey particularly this to the entire audience, that in India this testing of tractor has been started before the automobile testing. That is one of the things, and this has been done by the Budni Institute by creation of Budni Institute in 1955 itself. So that's why the Budni Institute has played a very important role for quality control. What we have been seeing these tractors in the today's era, these particularly the advanced tractors. So most of the credit goes to the our Budni Institute because they have developed so much of standards for this one, and really hard work for particularly bringing all this upgradation of these tractors. Next, please. So these are the different, other than 4 farm machineries, these are the different institutes which have been designated by us. Next, please. So these are the achievements. We can say that more than 11 lakh farm machineries we are distributed during the last 6 years, and custom hiring center more than 18,000, and then high techs 255, total trainees trained by more than 69,000, and then total demonstration conduct more than 46,000, total machine tested more than 2,000, and then total machine tested at our designated institute more than 6,000. Next, please. So apart from this, our SMM, we are introduced for, as Dr. Badegaonkar has already stated, specifically for in-situ management. So we are already introduced this during last 2 years. We have introduced this in-situ management script on corn residue, particularly for the 4 states: Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, and Uttar Pradesh. These 4 states have been covered under this one, and here we are giving financial assistance to the farmers as well as FPOs and other self-help groups, particularly for the establishment of customer center as well as for the distribution of agriculture machine. We are also been funding to the ICR for demonstration of various technologies and to take all this technology at the growth level. Then you can also see that because you know that we have been all using the taxis like our by the different modes, like the same taking to the same principle. We also launched this app on custom hiring center for that is Uberization, we can say that on farm machinery. And here more than 1,500 custom hiring center and as well as farmers, those who are already having this farm machinery have been registered on this one, and people and farmers are taking the advantage of this one. It is entirely been free of cost, and then there is a contact between the custom hiring center owner or farm machinery owner and the farmers, and it's been very successfully running. Then creation of portal on DBT agriculture mechanization to bring the transparency into the for distribution of agriculture machinery and implementation of our submission on agriculture mechanization. We also introduced DBT portal. Here the entire process from taking the application of these farmers to the release of the subsidy is the entire process even through the online, and the farmer need not to go to the any office or anywhere. And this is very fantastic software which has been developed by this our government of India and been implemented, and people have been very much appreciated for this one. Then Krishi Kalyan Abhiyan is also going to be launched by the government, and where the aspirational districts are there, which will be more focused by the different agriculture activities, and one of the activities also this our farm mechanization. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. Thank you very much for patient listening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing schemes and initiatives taken by Government of India for the improvement of farm mechanization. So your presentation, I believe, is well received. We are getting a lot of queries and questions from the participants on the same.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I will definitely try to answer that.
Sure. So I would now like to invite Dr. Indramani Mishra. He is the president of ISAE. So, Dr. Mishra, I would like to ask you, like as an association, one of your objectives is to disseminate information about the transfer of technology for the development and welfare of rural areas and masses. And like we heard other panelists also, they were talking about the requirement of affordable customized combo machinery for small farmers. So what is your association doing in order to tackle this problem? Are there any initiatives or the interactions has been taken from your association with the government or with the other members of your society?
Thank you, Vibha. To begin with, share my views and views of ISAE, Indian Society of Agriculture Engineers. Dr. Mai has been our guiding figure, and so in his presence, being here and sharing thought is another pleasure. Dr. Mai Sahab, namaskar. Thank you. Friends, as Mai Sahab said that mechanization is very, very important, and it has become now of Indian agriculture. And my fellow panelist has shared the importance of mechanization and effort being made by Government of India. Let me share with you that world over situation is that mechanization and automation was rated as top 20 technological development in 20th century. So it is not for India but world over, particularly USA, and that's how we achieved. We could replace labor for other sectors, and they started using machinery in agriculture. Coming to India, as my friend said, tractorization. Yes, tractor is the symbol of mechanization, and in historical perspective, you see, in 1914, first tractor was brought, and 30s was the decade of development of engines, and particularly for pumping, and in 40s end there was a CTO was established, Central Tractor Organization was established in Pusa. That building is just in front of Division of Agricultural Engineering, and there basically some tractors were imported, high horsepower tractors were imported mainly for land development. And in 1961, we started our own tractor production with 880 tractors. And you know that by end of 2000 or before that, we became the largest producer of tractors in the world. And even today, as my friend Dr. Kale has shared, that we are the unit-wise, if you see, the largest producer of tractors, more than 7 lakh tractors per year. And our giant tractor manufacturing industry is playing a very, very key role, important role. And coming to this aspect of tractorization versus mechanization, we understand that tractor is a soldier and the equipment is weapon. If weapon is not provided to the soldier, he cannot perform the job. So it is very, very important that equipment should be developed. And as mentioned by Dr. Mai and my friend Bade Gavankar and even Kale Saab, that different universities and ICR institutions have been engaged in developing equipment for different farm operations. Some of the precision agriculture equipment and conservation agriculture equipment, my friend Dr. Bade Gavankar mentioned, and IAE has developed many other equipment also. Dr. Mai advised in the beginning that we should discuss what institutions are doing. So, Indian Agriculture Research Institute has come up with a number of equipment, and one series is for animal feed block, so for biomass management. So we have developed 5 technologies for animal feed block making. Similarly, and those technologies, Dr. Maiser, we have disseminated to all of the country and at more than 150 locations in the country, including Northeast, Jammu Kashmir, Leh Ladakh, and even in unreached areas, because animal health, we feel that mechanization of animal, this livestock management is also very important. So with that angle, that one set of technologies are there. Then there was mention was made about technologies related to biomass management. So one uses animal feed, other uses compost. So IRI has developed a set of technologies, and those are for mass scale compost manufacturing. And I am sure Dr. Mai have visited this biomass center of IRI, and in just an example that before development of this technology, IRI used to procure compost of more than 35-36 lakhs rupees. And with the establishment of this this biomass management center, mechanized one, the two-pronged, one that we stopped even purchasing any kind of compost, and rather 15-20 lakh rupees compost we are selling to outsiders. And the second point is a lot of biomass is to be generated in the campus. Now that biomass is completely used for compost generation. So this is another for that a complete technology IRI has developed. Then recently, Dr. Maisab, we developed for this resource application, particularly fertilizer. So mention was made about dry land agriculture. So IRI has developed aqua ferticide drill, and then followed by another technology that is called urea ammonia applicator, UAN applicator, that is for liquid fertilizer applicator. So that these technologies will be will be addressing the problem of dry land, where without first this before sowing irrigation, you can directly use this. Enables you to apply seed along with aqueous fertilizer, and this UAN applicator again enables us to apply seed alongside the liquid fertilizer, the urea ammonia nitrate. You can say it is liquid urea. Then a number of technologies have been developed on horticulture mechanization, particularly vegetable one, and those are being disseminated in different parts of the country. And similarly, Dr. Mais have mentioned about the small farm mechanization. So my division was actually famous for small farm mechanization, and in that series, powered equipment, a number of powered equipment we have developed, including one by tractor we called power integral equipment and with industry. The hallmark of our effort is that all these technologies we are developing with taking manufacturers with us, and that has helped a lot. And let me tell you that we have myself, we have a process of whatever technology we develop. We have a revolving fund scheme. Through that revolving fund scheme, first we supply to the selected location and institutions where we are able to create interest about the technology. Followed by this, we commercialize it. Before that, we patent it, and then we'll commercialize it to the manufacturer, so that once market has been created through RFS scheme, then our manufacturers are now interested to take up the license, and most of our technologies are going to the farmers field in this manner. So small farm mechanization being addressed very well. Vibhaji answered what ISA is doing. So we have been organizing the conference, and from last 2 months in this COVID period, on mechanization and automation, we are conducting a series of webinars, and in which we collected the scientists from world over and from India, and all kind of technology we emphasize. But first on automation, then coming to solar energy, then biogas system, and then structure. These 4 major areas we have addressed, and we are what you said, that how to help the farmers. That we are trying to make that, how to make appropriate technology, as Dr. Badegavankar mentioned, how to make that appropriate of technology is being worked out. Another very important aspect is that MySAB can help, and that is, sir, the ISA made an effort through our SMD, subject matter division of ag engineering at ICR, and our Honorable Director General wrote a letter to all the chief secretaries to create a position of agriculture, like district agriculture officer, district horticulture officer, similarly district agricultural engineering officer, which will involve not only mechanization but other 2 aspects of soil and water conservation engineering and process engineering also. So this is, and later on Rupala Sahab, our Honorable Minister, also wrote to all the Chief Minister.
Thank you.
So, sir, through you, we want to take it, this message, very, very important. And another thing, if you can put up, that we should have a commissioner ag engineering position in the ministry, like we have commissioner horticulture, commissioner agriculture. Similarly, because mechanization and engineering has become fulcrum point. So this is very, very important if you can put up this, and Directorate of Agriculture Engineering in different states. There is 3 major steps we are putting from ISA side, and we would need help of Dr. MySAB and this organization to take this message to the government. With this, thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful insights. So with this, I will now come to Mr. Jay Singh. Mr. Jay Singh is the Managing Director of CLAS India. So you've been hearing a lot about, the scope and, the requirement of farm mechanization in India, and the affordable techniques and, machinery that is required for the small farm owners. So, as a stakeholder, what are the challenges in front of farm mechanization in India? If you could like to share your perspective as a stakeholder.
Thank you, Vibha. Just testing my audio. Is that working?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. And thanks for the trigger point to give an opposite view. I wouldn't say opposing view. This is the view from a manufacturer point of view, from whatever I've heard and whatever I know of how mechanization is perceived. The first difference I see is in the definition of mechanization itself. One of the previous speakers established that it is not exactly tractorization. Well, I can't say I'm happy to hear that, because the CLAS tractor is one of the top 5 tractors in the world in terms of quality and technology. Is it a harvester? Well, if somebody says harvesting is not the only thing which can define mechanization, well, we are known as the world top 2 harvester manufacturers. So it gives a rather, how shall I say, motivated view to not defend, but to actually agree And therefore, what I'm trying to say here is that the definition cannot be limited to tractors only or to using some small implements. It has to be a very wide view. This has to be an end-to-end viewpoint. And unless we do that, we have seen this, as Dr. Kale said, that during the lockdown period, there were several places, several processes that were broken due to flight of farm labor. And that underlines, that underscores why it is important to have an end-to-end view, not just the tractor usage or land preparation or harvesting. It is from pre to post harvesting. We have seen from the government perspective, from enablers, from supporting organization of various government engineering departments, a lot of view is taken to the end result, to the effect part. I'm going to try and bring you the cause part of why it is important focus on the cause side so that the effect is achieved. And why are we trying to achieve a level of mechanization only? No. I think the larger objective is the so-called doubling of income, but primarily to improve the efficiency of farming so that the earning of the farmer goes up, whether it's in the small, medium, large, industrial, commercial sector. That's a larger objective. Let's see on the cause side also of how this is there. And why is it important to look at the cause side? Because if we have been addressing the effect side since last 10, 20, 30 years, why are we still at 2.2 kilowatt per hectare? Why are we looking at only 2.5 per hectare? I'm not trying to differ with you, Dr. Kale, but I'm trying to say here that a private sector view would have been fine if we have a target of 2.5. What will it take to take it to 4 or to 3? And that's how private sector always looks at. I'm sorry, I don't work for a government company, but that's how I've been trained for the last 3 decades that I'm working here, of what will it take me to take the extra leap forward. And I see that it is not just on the effect side, it's also on the cause side that is very, very important. When you look at the cause side, the first thing private sector would do is to break the status quo. So you analyze what is on the effects on the cause side. So let's see description of the problem. Look at paddy harvesting. You go to South India, paddy harvesting is at 85% level. Mechanization of paddy harvesting, 85%. You go to eastern side, which is exploding now due to paddy, 45%. And actually 45%, I'm being actually mild in my assessment because I like those people there in Bengal and Orissa and Northeast, but it's actually pathetically low after so many decades of addressing the effect side. Look at dairy. I'm now changing to the sectoral view on the dairy side. If you go to Punjab and Gujarat, the understanding of importance of cattle fodder, take maize silage, for example, is 100%. Everybody knows in Punjab what is achar, what is pickle, and that's the silage part. But you go to other areas which are producing milk, there are people who their standards of living are going up and therefore the milk consumption is going up. The knowledge of why a good quality fodder is required to achieve an end result, again, on the cost side, not known. They think that giving paddy straw is good enough. If I look at the crop differentials that are there and look at the harvesting levels, so paddy, as I said, 85-45, let's keep it at 70% average national harvesting mechanization. Wheat, 60%. My number could be wrong, but there's no established data bank from where we can get an endorsed statement. So this is not a syndicated data. This is a manufacturer's assessment who has got a lot of interest in wheat. 60% national average harvesting. You go to maize, just the harvesting part is barely 10%. Anything else that is passed off as harvesting must be refuted because there is no advanced maize specific harvester. So basically you're using something else to do maize harvesting, which is actually not meant for it. Interesting part is mustard. You go to Rajasthan, you have this hectares and hectares and miles of mustard, zero mechanization. Anything that is done there over there is an improvisation which cannot be taken as a part of standard process. So therefore there is a regional difference, there is a sectoral difference, and there is within the crop itself, within a region, you have various differences of level of mechanization. And I've taken only the example of harvesting. I'm not yet touching on baling part. I'm not touching on transplanting part. because there the story becomes even more grim. So I said, let's look at the cost side, and I'm going to want to bring out 4 points only. So I won't be taking a lot of time in talking about this. On the cost side, if you open up a university book and you read what is there, somebody just said that the first tractor was built in the early 1900s. Many of the universities, the agri universities and schools that talk about farm machinery actually start from that age. Sure, you need to always sketch history, but where does it land up at? It stops at probably a 35 HP tractor, which is actually considered micro in global terms. So when we say that we are the largest manufacturer of tractors in the world, sure, by volumes, by HP, sorry, not even in the top 20 probably. And therefore, at the education level, we need to look at the curriculum. Few years ago, we worked with the Haryana government to look at the curriculum, and we could actually bring about a sea change because it's so easy to address that. To call a subject expert, harvesting, get class. For tractors, get one of my fellow manufacturers here. For transplanting, somebody else and all, and they do it pro bono. They do it free of cost. And therefore, it is very, very easy thing to do, to update curriculum of what we are teaching our students who are going to be the budding enablers of the farming society. In agriculture employee levels, I'm very happy to see a lot of money is getting directed there. So I don't have to talk about a gap analysis there. There is a gap, and hence the budget is there. I'm happy to see that it is recognized. But a refresher course every 3 years would actually not harm. It would actually help in upgrading what's technology in. There are multinational companies. Class, for example, is a German multinational. There are people from various advanced economies who have adapted themselves to the Indian way of farming, understanding what's a small and marginal and mid and high level farming here. And therefore, they can actually syndicate, they can customize training programs for government agriculture, government employees to suit the local needs. We go to training parts. There are a lot of training extension program for happening for farmers. We have to do that from trying to break the status quo, and I'll talk about this. When you look at the training part, it has to be a very wide spectrum. So the Skill Development Council of India is a very, very interesting one. There is an agriculture skill development, everybody knows also. For some time, I was also on the consulting team of the thing. And one day I was handed over a harvesting curriculum for training. So I said, who has done that? He said, we have done it. So I said, well, I'm sitting here, I'm not even aware. And when I looked at it, it had the same story of the university curriculum that I had told you about. This is talking about the past, not what is today and what's going to come around. Therefore, skill council curriculum in the manner they are imparting training must be very, very important. Again, I appreciate the government's understanding of the gap, that it is not just farmers, it's actually the whole ecosystem that has to be trained into receiving machinery. Many people think that farmers buy machinery. Sorry, they have stopped doing that because now they have understood that there's a government program and there's a parallel economy of rental contractors that drive mechanization. Therefore, are we addressing that sector? No. That sector is completely missed. It's like under the table, yes, 18,000 custom hiring centers are operated by these, but I can tell you there might be 18 million more such contractors who are helping the government achieving the target of mechanization that they're doing now. We must not forget them. Operators and mechanics are covered in many programs. Take the Orissa Farm Research and Development Corporation that has got a very advanced program. We run the Class Academy concept with 6 public universities. Is that all? Pathetically low, very, very low. There are limitations on resources from the trainer side, from our side, and of course, how much can a university do? So that program is getting attention from the government. I'm very happy to note that. My next point is on, the second one out of the 4 is on operational efficiency. This was touched upon by Dr. Mai, and we all know it. We keep the size of the farm small. You can do whatever you want. You cannot improve operating efficiency. But this is a societal challenge. We have to accept it. And I'm therefore very happy to see that we are moving in that direction of framing a contract law, which is extremely good because of that there is no unfair means adopted on either side of the contract. We must promote, therefore, this one. We must promote commercial farming privatization word in India is resisted by bank employees, it is resisted by government hospitals, resisted by airports and everything else. If we have to improve operational efficiency, we must look at, in fact, I encourage, not just wait for, but we also proactively seek out commercial farming people who can actually bring together small farmers by which everybody gains. It becomes a win-win game. Consolidation, this happened long time back in Europe also. They were also splitting into small groups, sons and fathers and grandsons and grandchildren, but somebody then thought of consolidation again in the private sector side. So these are operational efficiency issues. We know it. Now that we have a law, armed with a law, we have the weapon that somebody said. Now we have to hand it over to the soldier and take him to a particular direction. My third point is on the technology upgradation. And this is an example I give to my colleagues. If you do not break the status quo, which means the input side is not changing, we have been taught in school that the output side will not change. Take example of a sickle. So if you give a perfectly engineered curved sickle to a farmer, it does not mean that you have given him a technology that is better than what he was doing earlier. What you have done, you have maintained the status quo. And therefore, when we are looking at targeting the technology, if you limit your thinking, your view to a small and marginal segment farmer, and you give him what he wants today, and do not tell him, do not fund, do not motivate him to what could be a tomorrow, you are actually directing the status quo. I touch upon this in the fourth point, but for so much time, I move to next point, which is about availability under technical upgradation. My third point is that when there is a machine available for a commercial farmer, there must be a machine available for a small farmer also. The balance is very important. Manufacturers are very, very aware of this. Their business is to sell and do business, and therefore they will not impose a large machine on a small farmer or try to promote what's important, what's useful for a small farmer onto an industrial segment. Take example of forage harvesting for creating silage from maize. Just an example of what we do. We have a machine that costs 2.5 crores for commercial maize forage harvesting. We have a machine which costs 3.5 to 4 lakhs that addresses the small and marginal farmer. Does the farmer have to own it? No. Just that young bright guy in that village or the customizing center has to own it, and the whole village benefits by that. This is not a big machine, so a very small machine can be tied to a tractor. Therefore, when you are looking at manufacturers, when the government talks to us, it must talk about, fine, you have something for this and you have something for the segment. Does this change the status quo of the farmer? Or again, you are giving that golden, nicely perfected sickle to him. Look at Europe, and I will not go too much on Europe because the argument is always defeated that they are way ahead, ages ahead, decades ahead of us. Yeah, on to the last point then. And therefore, it will be very important that we look at countries around us and see that they have actually taken a wide view to mechanization. The last point was on the financing part. The financing part is where the major funding today is going into maintaining status quo in the small farmer segment. I'm very happy that Mr. Kale, that you fund high-tech centers. There must be some of these because these are technologies of tomorrow. These are the ones that will therefore benefit even small farmers. Hence, the financing support from NABARD or anybody should support a change. It should finance a change and not finance maintenance of status quo.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wonderful remarks and insights on this particular topic. And like you said, the financing options are available. So we have a representative from NABARD. So, Mr. Ganpati, I
would like to thank Jai Singh. You have done a wonderful job. Really, you have brought out some very important issues, particularly for teaching curriculum and the training program. I think, as you agree, that majority of the universities are not taking part of the industry for actually this thing. And I'm happy that you have done it in Haryana. And certainly, I think we need to do it in all those 75 agriculture universities. Then only we will have improvement in this. Thank you very much for a wonderful
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, so we have a representative from NABARD, Mr. R. Ganpati, and since Mr. Ganpati, you have been actively, supporting, NABARD is actively supporting farm mechanization sector. So I believe there is some financing schemes and some initiatives that you would like to share with us. And we have a presentation from Mr. Ganpati. So Mr. Vivek, if you could please upload the presentation, and maybe we can then start with with his address. Mr.
Uh,
Ganpati?
First of all, I thank Agrovision for organizing this wonderful seminar, and Mr. From Agrovision, Dr. Kale, Dr. Badgaonkar, Dr. Indramani Mishra Saab, then Mr. Jai Singh Saab. Means it is a wonderful forum. We have a entire team right from policy making to the industry. So now in this, I like to concentrate more on financing of farm mechanization. So I think my previous presenters have already made my job very easier, because they have told about the entire benefits of farm mechanization, status, everything. So now I'll try to limit my presentation to this financing farm mechanization. Then I'll be interested to hear some questions from you. If you want to see, you can go to the second slide. Please go to the second slide. The farm mechanization market size. Though we talk about tractor indicator, but it reflects a fairly good level of mechanization what we have. So tractor industry is the largest industry in the world, and this accounts for nearly 1/3 of the global tractor productions. And we are in a position to sell nearly 7 to 8 lakh tractors in a year. Around 50,000 power tillers and support equipments are being sold in India. So this fairly gives a very good market for tractor. Can you please go to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yeah. Farm mechanization finance, here, I like to say that there is a scope to lend around 31 lakh crores to the total priority sector. And out of this total priority sector lending, nearly around 2.7% to 3% is for farm mechanization, and it is about 1 lakh crore. This is our projection for farm mechanization lending. And if we see that there is a ground level credit, proposed ground level credit in 2020-21 is estimated at around 15 lakh crores. And out of this, we see a loan can go to farm mechanization sector to the extent of around 41,000 crore. My assumptions are based on the GLC, means ground level credit to agriculture sector, is growing at an average rate of around 11%. Next slide, please. Then market share of tractors, for every 100 tractors sold, nearly 80 tractors are being financed, and around 50 tractors are bought by the own funds from the buyers. And major share of financing comes from private sector banks, as well as from NBFCs. That is the reason, I think most of you will be already aware. Almost all the tractor manufacturers, they have their financing model, they have opened an NBFC, which will finance not only their tractors, but also other farm equipments. Then here I accept, my previous speakers also told, that public sector banks, RRBs and cooperatives contribute to merely 20% of the sale, whereas major finance is coming from private sector financing and NBFCs. And domestic sale, farm mechanization, is registering an impressive growth of around 10%. I think this is also told my previous speakers. And India is expected to, India has expected during the previous year around 92,000 tractors. This fairly gives a picture about our tractor share or farm mechanization market. Next slide, please. See, under the COVID conditions, our previous speakers are, I fully agree with them. On account of the COVID, tractor sale is estimated to dip around 10%. This is, see, there are two ways of looking at it. One is like that is because of COVID conditions, most of our migrant laborers, they have migrated. So we are in need of like that is more machines to meet our farm requirements, and particularly like that is with the onset of Kharif and things like that. So like that is we require more of mechanization. But what happens is like that is the market says that there is a tractor sale dip by 10% when compared to automobile sector dip. Like automobile sector dip around 35%, whereas the tractor sales dip by 10%. And around 80,000 tractor sale was lost during the last 3 months, but however it is expected that the sales is expected to pick up during the next 4 months on account of a favorable monsoon as well as the demand from the farmers. Next slide, please. So like that is farm mechanization trade. I like to say that we have a mixed thing. Like that is we also export farm machineries and we also import. I like to say like there's around 1 lakh tractors in a year we are exporting, whereas we are importing somewhere around 5,000 tractors annually. And we export somewhere around 1,500 combine harvests and import around 5,000 combine harvests. Imports are increasing. And we export nearly 6,000 seed drills and planters, transplanters, and import nearly 10,000 plus seed drills and planters, and this is increasing. Next slide, please. This fairly gives that we also have a, like that is a manufacturing gap. Then issues in farm mechanization already like that is previous speakers have fairly covered. Like that is 86% of our holding is with small and marginal farmers who have less than 2 hectares. That is the major issue in mechanization. Then second major issue is like that is elaborate credit procedures, which I have already told you, and like that is that only give more room for the NBFCs and private sector banks to play. And we need to simplify the like that is credit procedure and higher initial investment. Like that is here I like to add also like most of this farm mechanization activities also get support from the government. So like that is the government support comes with certain criteria for qualifying as well as like that is for what activity, how it has to be, and what are the eligibility criteria and things like that. So I think this could be one of the reasons for public sector banks to come in a big way for financing tractor. Then third thing is that there is initial investment cost and interest cost. So like that is this makes the private players to like that is hesitate a financial decision in setting up of even custom hiring center. Then subsidy available is linked to like that is a budget allocation, and it is not linked to the potential of credit potentials for farm mechanization. And here also I think the budget of the government based on the like that is what I can say like that is the total budget available, they are trying to give rationalization. Then many tractors are not insured and registered, and hence even banks hesitate to finance. This is also one of the reasons. Then I fully agree with my previous about that awareness. Like that is among the farmers, problem is that we need to give a very good demonstration so that they understand and they go for mechanization. Then see like that is so this much I think I needed to elaborate, and here and almost I think my previous speakers have fairly covered. Like that is this basically gives an idea that we have to go for, you can go for the next slide. So basically this here what I want to say is that need for custom hire centers as well as agri-machinery banks. So both our government like that is submission on agriculture mechanization as well as like that is doubling the farmers income. Like that is the group which was formed for doubling the farmers income. Both say that we have to go for custom hire centers. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. So mechanization of small and marginal farmers can happen only through promotion of custom hiring centers as well as agri-machinery banks. And so far, nearly like that is, I think our colleagues told that around 18,000 custom hiring centers have been supported. And we also get that is my Singh Saab ne to kaha hai, like that is there are more millions of other small players who came forward for supporting the requirements of their fellow farmers. So that way, like that is, we get a message around 45,000 custom hiring centers are linked to that is custom hiring center portal of farm machinery. This is developed by Government of India for, and which is benefiting nearly 1,20,000 farmers. Just take a break, please. And NABARD conducted a study on effectiveness of like that is custom hiring centers along with the CAA and the FACE. You can go to the next slide. The major findings are like this. Please move to the. It broadly says that the purpose for which these custom and hiring centers have been envisaged, they are fulfilled. It provides opportunity for agri entrepreneurs, empowering rural youths gainfully, then cope with the increasing labor scarcity, effectively handle the crisis situations. Like now, if we would have been better mechanized, this COVID situation would have been still better handled. And again, like that is access to mechanism to small and marginal farmers. This is like even the government data says that more than 40,000 custom hiring centers are catering the needs of more than 1,20,000 farmers. It enhances the use of technology and machines. Otherwise, small and marginal farmers would have never got an opportunity to use these technologies. Next slide, please. Yeah, challenges faced in custom hiring centers. The higher initial investments. This is a major issue. Then the small holdings. So private players not to come forward for investing in custom hire centers. So that is the reason, like that is even now we are not in a position to get a very good number of custom hiring centers, like even availability of machines and implements. With the custom hiring centers, what the studies say is also like it is a seasonal, like in peak season, farmers are in a position to means almost all the farmers need the machines, so they are not in a position to get the required machines. And during the lean season, these machines are kept idle. So some mechanism have to be worked out for this also. Then the documentation, like that is most of these custom hire centers are supported through submission of agri-machinery. So like that is their subsidy eligibility releases are linked to certain criteria of the government schemes. So documentation is must. Then training the entrepreneurs. Key areas of training, like I agree with my previous speakers, knowledge on machine, its application, technology, then business skills, cash flow planning. All these things have to be like they have to be trained. A mechanism can be worked out something in the case of that is ACABCs, means agri clinic, agri business centers. Their government is making arrangements through this manage for training these agripreneurs into this agri clinic and agri business centers. So something like that, like that is structured training will help running these custom hiring centers more successfully. Then availability of the trained manpower. This is also the challenge that this custom hiring centers face. Next, please. So like that is this we have already seen, like custom hire centers, they should be flexible enough because most of them require higher investments. Higher investments means they have to go for bank loans, and they will be getting support from the government. So they need to fulfill the requirements of the bankers as well as government schemes. Then selection of entrepreneur, that makes it that is very crucial. Like they should have they should be mostly from the local areas, and they should have the knowledge on agriculture, technical expertise, soft skills, and working with groups. These are the minimum skills that we required for agripreneurs. Then access to finance, subsidy documentation, this we have already seen. Then maintenance of the machinery and financial record. This is more critical, particularly like that is when we see a local custom hiring center come up from the local areas, then at least they should have the facility for maintenance of the machineries, and also like that is they should have sufficient skills for keeping the financials in track. Otherwise, after maybe a year or two, they will come to know that this custom hiring center has incurred loss rather than making a profit. And then monetization systems, this is also the things. So basically, so like I fully agree with my previous speakers, like that is a custom hiring centers will only give scope for our small and marginal farmers, go for like that is mechanization, and which will certainly improve our production and productivity. I like to hear for some questions if it is there, Viva.
Thank you for your presentation, sir. I believe we have some questions. So maybe after we are done with Mr. Raju, we will come back to you again if we have any queries or any question on your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Viva.
Sir. So now we have Mr. Raju. Mr. Raju is the chairman of AMA India, which is the Agriculture Machinery Manufacturers Associations. Mr. Raju, you've heard all the panelists. They are talking about various challenges and opportunities in this particular sector. So I would like to ask you, as an association, what are the activities that you undertake in order to provide guidance and educate farmers in this particular segment?
Namaste, madam, as well as respected panelists and all the participants. I thank from AMA India for giving us an opportunity to discuss on the present situation. As we all know, as agriculture is an integrated activity with agriculture, horticulture, and animal husbandry, and today mechanization is need of the hour in all aspects, whether it is a small farming or a big farming activity. Mechanization is very much required. As far as our association is concerned, in India, majorly 5 associations are there. Tractor Manufacturers Association, similarly power tiller, combine harvesters, and small tractors, and AMA India, that is Agri Machinery Manufacturers Association of India. It is a association established from 2009, and we have members of 800 members across 18 states. It wasn't totally an unorganized sector with the small rural artisans to medium scale manufacturers as well as setups. In particularly to AMA India, we have machinery manufacturers of multi-purpose, you can say, who are into land preparation, sowing, crop care, intercultivation, harvesting and post-harvest, as well as agro-processing machineries. Nearly 100 plus different machineries have been manufactured by our manufacturing members. Today, multi-purpose applicating machineries are very much required, and many of the manufacturers have been doing machineries of which are utilized for multi-purpose. For example, to give one machine which can be used for many applications that can meet out requirement of small farmers, like a small power weeder can be utilized as a power weeder, as well as a spray for spraying, as well as for a pump set, as well as for intercultivation. Like this, there are many manufacturers which were started working on this. Now, in the present scenario of labor shortage, all the manufacturers have been trying to give better machines, best machines through agriculture department as well as subsidy schemes. In the COVID situation, we have been given an opportunity of with Green Pass and also opening up our industries and also to serve farmers. We thank Government of India as well as state governments for taking given this opportunity to serve farmers. However, in this situation, we have faced problems of raw material as well as movement of agricultural machinery from one place to another as well as state to state. With the migration of laborers, even manufacturing facilities also, we have been facing problems. And now we are looking at the government for extra support, especially on the approvals, as each state government implies different rules for approval of the machinery for supplying to farmers under subsidy schemes. We usually spend nearly 3 to 5 months in each state for getting our equipments approved. As our professor said, it is now a new platform has been created, but has to be implemented at the earliest step. Now, with the association as well as with the members spread across India, more guidelines have been standardized, and equipments are also got standardized, and quality equipments are started flowing to farmers. As many panelists highlighted on the training part, definitely it is again a need of the hour, especially farmers are not able to repair the machineries. So training as well as skill development is very much required. We from our association also plan to take it forward, and we also look at the government for helping to develop cluster manufacturing setup so that in the near future, based on the state or based on the area, crop specific machineries can be promoted so that more mechanization can happen to the particular crop. As Mr. Jaisingh sir has highlighted on mechanization in each crop. Similarly, whether it is paddy or wheat or pulses, much more crop specific machinery development is required in addition to value addition of the products. I thank all the panelists, participants and Agrovision for giving us an opportunity. We also pledge from our association to serve farming community in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your suggestions and comments. Now I will open the floor for some questions. We have Mr. Sudhir Goyal with us. Mr. Goyal, Vivek, please unmute Mr. Goyal.
Sudhir Goyal, please go ahead.
Mr. Goyal, you are unmuted. Please introduce yourself and ask a question.
No, it is still.
Please ask a question.
Sudhir Goyal is connected from multiple devices, so he is going.
Please then take the next one, Mr. Satinder Singh.
Yes. Am I audible?
Mr. Sudhir Goyal. So you are connected from multiple devices. Could you please use only one device to ask question?
Yeah, there is only one device.
Please mute him, Mr. Satinder Singh. We have Mr. Satinder Singh.
Yeah, connecting with Satinder Singh.
Yes, Mr. Singh, please introduce yourself and ask a question.
Satinder Singh, please go ahead.
I thought there are two Satinder Singhs because I'm logged in as Satinder Arya. I don't have a question, just a comment that I would request Kale Saab that they had taken a nice initiative of, taking up the skill programs, but suddenly those number of skill programs have come down. And I think there is a need that other states besides Madhya Pradesh can look at Madhya Pradesh model, because Madhya Pradesh has got 5 skill centers, and they have involved 5 different companies to take care of the skilling initiatives there. So, which is a very good model. Number 2, I know there are certain deficiencies that might be there in something which we have developed, and I would really request all the corporate or industry partners to give their feedback, because it's very important to have their feedback, and if the feedback doesn't come, then we have to develop certain standards, and we did it with Mr. Kale, his team, and some of the industries which had responded. So look forward for everybody's participation in the Skill India movement, and we would be more than glad to contribute our little bit. And I would also be reaching out to all the
firefighters. It's taking much time. Please.
Okay, so we would be writing to all the associations to get their support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rajiv Kumar wanted to ask a question.
Okay. I'm unmuting Rajiv Kumar.
Rajiv Kumar? Vibha?
Rajiv Kumar, audio is not working, sir.
Okay. Now, some of them, Vibha, are you able to hear? Vibha is disconnected.
Sir, I'm taking next question from Mr. Meman.
Yeah. Please, go ahead.
Mr. Menon, I request you to please
kindly unmute.
Able to
Anil Meman, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So now it's clear, it's unmuted. So I've mentioned my question there. Dr. Kale had mentioned during his presentation that the level of fodder mechanization is low. And my question would be, is there anything specific that the government is doing to improve mechanization and fodder harvesting nationwide? And for both small equipment for small dairy farmers or small contractors who can serve villages, and then of course the larger commercial equipment for commercial contractors.
Thank you. Menon, thank you very much.
I request to panelists take this question.
I think Vibha is disconnected.
Ma'am is disconnected, so I request my sir to continue this.
Okay. So now I think that it is time to wind up. I would request all those questionnaires, they can send it to us because there is an address given already, and we will reply all these questions also. I would like to really thank the panelists, particularly Mr. Kale, Mr. Mishra, Dr. Mishra, Badegaonkar, Mr. Ganpati, Mr. Jai Singh and Raju, who has really given wonderful ideas in different sectors. I particularly appreciate because we had some scientists from ICR institutions like IRI and Bhopal institution, and also we have the chairman of machinery manufacturing. We have also the NABARD also together, and government of India's representative. I think it's a very good combination. Some of those ideas which I think it has struck to me is, what are those issues which we are now suffering about higher custom hiring? I think this we need to really point it out. And although there are wonderful schemes which the government has already, Mr. Kale has said, and also NABARD has very clear what is the support they have given. But I think what is needed is actually those problems at the ground level, if we are able to really pinpoint them, then they can start. Even in the Agrovision Foundation, we were very keen that we would like to start one higher custom hiring sector so that we can help the farmers in the dry land agriculture. And the other thing which struck me is regarding the curriculum. I think Mr. Jai Singh has very rightly said, universities, agriculture universities are just working sometimes in engineering sector more in a silo. they must interact with mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, electronic engineers. I think that kind of interaction is very. I would never. I am a member of a committee where we are financing people. We always say that unless there are 3-4 institutions come together for a project, I think the project will not be a very viable project. So something of that kind has to be really seen. And I am happy that there are several things which have come up. We have talked more on mechanization of only farm, but now there is mechanization in animal husbandry, dairy, floriculture, horticulture, even beekeeping. Also, we have sericulture. There are innumerable areas where we need that kind of this thing. So I'm really happy. I would like to thank once again on behalf of AgriVision Foundation all the panelists that at least we have now opened up a big window for mechanization in this country. And I'm sure that by 2050, let me say, that our labor force in agriculture is going to be hardly something like I expect 15 to 20%. And that time we must be efficient in large amount of mechanized in agriculture. And therefore our profitability is also increased. And then agriculture, whatever we are talking about, doubling of income and all those things, I think certainly it will be. And it will also be an ease for farmers because nobody today wants to work in the field directly with the hand. Where we have labor, it's okay. But tomorrow it cannot happen. And birds which are working today in agriculture are moving out of it. So this is the fact that we have to realize that. I am really happy that the webinar on the scope of farm mechanization in India that we have organized has been very successful. I would like to once again thank all the panelists, particularly Dr. Kale, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Badegaonkar, Ganpati, Jai Singh and Dr. Raju. Thank you very much and see you sometime. We will reply all those questions. Thank you.
Dr. Mai, can I put a...
Yeah, please.
Dr. Mai, sir. Actually,
Yeah.
I actually no panelist has raised this issue, but actually, as far as Government of India is concerned, you know, the agriculture is the subject of state government, and we have been facing a lot of challenges for implementation of submission of our farm mechanization scheme because there is no specific directorate of agricultural engineering actually in the states available. So that's why there is no specific subject matter specialist available in agriculture department. So that's why it's the biggest constraint we can say that, biggest hurdle we can say that for propagation of this agriculture mechanization in the country. So that's why you can have one of the recommendation. One of the recommendation.
As an agriculture commissioner for some time in Government of India, I know what are the problems.
Yeah.
Because
so that's you must put it here.
Subject. That's the problem. Yeah.
Okay.
But it
Thank
is
you.
good,
Thank you.
I think. But we should be able to really now work because unless at the central level we provide some kind of a model, then it can be passed on to the state government for implementation.
No,
Otherwise,
the two models are already
planning.
available. Two models
Yeah.
specifically Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu has been, and Odisha is already been available with us, and they are having a huge network of agriculture engineers there, and that's why we have been facing that means less efforts there in this particularly these 3 states. So that's why this is a big model is already been available. Established model is available.
Very good. I think we should need to promote it. Thank you very much. I think everybody, once again, I see you in this COVID time. Be healthy, be safe, keep a distance, and always keep this. So I wish you all good health. Thank you very much for coming. I will
Thank you.
see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mai. Thanks.
Thank you all, sir.
And
Thank
thanks
you,
to all the
Mr.
Indian panelists. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
to all
Mr.
the
Raju.
panelists.